good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Good evening to the wonderful people here on Nevis, those on St. Kitts, those in the wider Caribbean. Good evening to our friends and family in the United States, Canada, the United Kingdom, wherever you are this evening. Good evening. It is a beautiful night here on the island of Nevis, and I am very, very pleased to be here with you for what is our final show for 2025. I start by giving God thanks for bringing us through this year safely. Many of us did not make it through this year, and I extend condolences to all of those families who have lost loved ones during 2025. I celebrate with all of those who would have reason to celebrate this year, those whose children might have graduated, those who might have achieved some milestone and anniversary, birthdays, of course. I celebrate with you. Life is, of course, a series of ups and downs, and it is important for us to be with each other during the lows and during the highs, when we're on the mountain as well as when we are in the valley. That is what builds community. That is what allows us to exhibit that true essence of being the vision. And so I say good evening to all. I say thank you to all. I say thank you to God for bringing us thus far. I am prayerful that for the rest of the year we will have no incidents, no inadvertent or willful incidents of any kind, that we would be able to live out 2025 without losing anyone else in our federation, and that all who are alive today and hearing my voice, that we will make it through to see the new year, a new dawn with new opportunities and new hope. It has been a year which is good in parts and bad in parts, and perhaps that is the nature of life. But throughout this year, God has been good to us. We have been spared any hurricanes, even as we saw hurricanes devastate our neighbors. We have been spared any spike in crime, even as we've had our own incidents. And we know that one incident is one too many. We have had difficulties, to be sure, but we've also had successes. We've seen our movie industry really take off. We've seen growth in our economy, growth in jobs. We've seen growth in our financial services sector. We've seen a reduction of our national and public debt. We have seen progress. And I believe that in the new year, we shall see more. My hope is that we can do more in terms of progress, less in terms of the negatives. That we can do more to move our island forward, working together. And that this propensity that some have of tearing at the very fabric of our society, that we may be able to get past that, and that each of us will make our contribution in our own little way. We may not all agree, but as I've often said on this show, there is no need for us to be disagreeable. We can disagree with each other respectfully. We can hold our point of view and express it forcefully, but we need not to cross that Rubicon where we become disrespectful to each other, where we start to deal with each other in such a way that dehumanizes each other, because in those circumstances we feel that ultimately our island suffers. Now here in Nevis we would have had our budget address, and last week I was absent because, as is the practice, once we have the budget, I asked Von Radio during my slot for On the Mark to air that address. And so you would have heard, no doubt, those who tuned in, what our plans and programs look like for 2026. Beginning on Tuesday of next week, we have the budget in Bastille. And we will learn then what the plans and programs are for the federal government. And I'm hopeful that we, as citizens, can have our own plans and programs, our own family budgets, our own projections, our own expectations and aspirations for 2026. Of course, I will come back, as I normally do, to give an address for the new year and to give an address also for Christmas. But we are today, I believe, at the 10th of the month, and therefore there is still some time. And so I look forward to engaging with you further in other fora, because, as I said, tonight will be the last show for the year for On the Mark. For all of you who have called in over this past year, for all of you who are regular listeners to this show, I want to say thank you. It is because of you that we do this show. I want to again thank publicly the law firm of Daniel Brantley, which has carried this show financially for the last 2 decades. I want to thank Vaughan Radio, which has become and continues to be an institution here on the island of Nevis and in the wider Federation. I want to thank my brother Weber Herbert, because he has persevered, given me an opportunity here to be in a space that I can speak to you and engage with you on a weekly basis. I do not take that privilege for granted, and I am truly grateful. I'm truly grateful to all of you who call with a scripture, with a message, with a thought, with a concern. I'm truly grateful how we've been able to engage with each other this year, and I'm hopeful that we continue with that engagement tonight and into the future. Ladies and gentlemen, tonight we are in a celebratory mood. I've just left Brownhill, where the Brownhill Community Management Group is hosting their annual Christmas tree lighting ceremony. I know that the great metropolis of Bath is going to do so soon. Church Ground, Cherry Gardens, all over my constituency of St. John's, but also all over the constituencies all across the island, St. Paul's, St. George, St. James, and St. Thomas's. I invite you to go out. This is really what we are about, community. I look forward to the usual event in Cane Garden put on by my friend Hines and co. And I certainly hope that all of our people will come out to these various events and really allow us an opportunity to mix and mingle with each other. This ultimately is what community is about. And I hope to go to as many as I can and to see as many people as I can during this season of joy, this Christmas season. As I said to those assembled in Brownhill tonight, as we celebrate Christmas, let us never forget that Christmas is not about receiving, Christmas is about giving. Many of us, when Christmas comes around, we start to wonder what we're going to get. I want us to change our mindset and wonder what we can give. And when I say giving, I want our people to understand that giving is not just about money, it's not about gifts and material things. Giving can be your time, it can be your attention. Think about the people in your community who are living alone, who might be sick, who might be bedridden, who might be elderly, who might be lonely. And think of what value it might be for you to spend an hour of your time with them. Just speaking to them, reading a scripture for them, just being in their presence. Perhaps to some that is more valuable than all the money in the world. Think about your neighbor who does not have as much as you, and you can pass over the fence a little something, a piece of cake, a meal, a little chicken, a piece of turkey or a small ham. Look out for each other, Nevis. Let us be a model island in this region and in this world. Not just economic prosperity, not just real estate development and infrastructural advancement, not just water and electricity, roads, but also how we treat each other. Kindness, taking care of people. That is critically important. Some elections ago, my party, the Concerned Citizens Movement, ran on a platform of people matter more. We then upgraded that and said people matter most. That has not changed. Let us, this Christmas season, remember that people matter most. Not just some people, but all of our people. And let us try to put our people, our friends, our families, even strangers, let us put them in a position where they can be comfortable. So let this Christmas then be about giving. Giving of what we have, giving of our money, if we have it, giving of our treasure, our goods, if we have it, giving of our food, if we have it, but also giving of our time, of our attention, and of our love. I say it's a time of celebration because yesterday I was privileged to attend the 40th anniversary celebration of the Bank of Nevis. For me, it felt personal. I was a youngster, a teenager, 15 or 16 years old when the bank opened its doors. And so many may question, well, what would a young teenager like you know about the Bank of Nevis? Well, I know about the Bank of Nevis because my father, of blessed memory, Irvin Brantley, was the first person to invest. When the great Sir Simeon Daniel had the idea of the Bank of Nevis and persuaded the authorities at the central bank to allow him to start a bank in Nevis with $250,000. The capitalization then, I gather, was $500,000. He persuaded them to allow him to start with $250,000. And then what did he do? He went to 10 of his friends, including my father, and said to them, can you put in $25,000 each? 10 times 25,000 would make the 250,000 that he needed. And some responded to that call. To those 10 people, many of whom are now of blessed memory, I say thank you. And that is why I feel a special sense of pride to see that my father had something to do with the creation of what has now become a $1 billion institution, the Bank of Nevis. I salute Sir Simeon Daniel. And I salute the 10 brave souls who put their hands in their pockets, you see, because talk is cheap. Many of us can speak very well, but when it comes time for us to put some skin in the game, we are nowhere to be found. These 10 put their hands in their pockets at a time in 1985 when $25,000 was a tremendous fortune. These 10 answered the call. They had confidence in Sir Simeon, but more than that, they had confidence in Nevis. And that for me is the abiding lesson of the Bank of Nevis. Created by us and for us. Emanating from what is good and great about the Nevisian people. And as I sat there and listened to the various speakers, to those who had played a role, management and board members and shareholders and employees as the CEOs, as we listened to them all, I reflected that 40 years ago when Sir Simeon proposed this quantum leap forward for the island of Nevis, there were tremendous critics. And many who themselves lack vision always have the loudest voices. Many who have no ideas for the development of the country often have the loudest voices. And I could only imagine. And young as I was, I have come to learn from my own father and from Sir Simeon himself some of the challenges, the groups that were formed, the opinion makers, the so-called intelligentsia among us, all of whom predicted doom and gloom, all of whom said it should not be done. Just last night I heard that some, in a derogatory fashion, referred to the Bank of Nevis as Sim's Bank. Only Sim gonna benefit from it. Don't put your money there. These were the kinds of things that were being said. And I smile because some of those comments sound rather familiar. You see, in this life, you'll always have people who are either pulling or pushing the wagon up the hill. There are people who get up every day wondering, what can I do today? How can I innovate? What new idea can I bring to advance my people? And then there are others, and all they do is sit on top of the wagon. They neither pull nor push, but they have an opinion on everything. And they stay on top of that wagon and they criticize every day those who are pulling and pushing that wagon up the hill. And then 40 years on, when the wagon is at the pinnacle of the hill, these are sometimes the same ones who stand up and clink the champagne glasses and celebrate and seek to claim the victory for themselves. That is the very essence of humanity and humankind. That is who we are. And so I don't engage too much in attacking people over that. It's a human frailty. But what I do say to our people is, let us be courageous. Let us remember that a lot of ideas and a lot of things that we think are impossible, and because we think they're impossible, we immediately respond by criticizing them, cursing those who propose them, saying that we don't want this and we don't want that. But at the end of the day, when they come and the benefits manifest themselves, we are quick to jump on that bandwagon and to enjoy the fruits of others' labor. It is the nature of the beast. And so I say to my people, don't be too concerned, because whilst we must listen to the opinions of everyone, we must also be resolute in terms of our purpose. We must be clear in terms of where we're going, and we must do what is necessary to get there, as Sir Simeon did. Yesterday was a celebration of the Bank of Nevis, but to me it was bigger than that. It was a celebration of the greatness that lies within every Nevisian. Those who were, those who are, and those who are yet to come. And so my simple message to my people is to be encouraged. Be encouraged. Because the same mob that today cries out for your head is the same mob that tomorrow will praise Hosanna, Hosanna. That is the nature of mankind, and we've seen it played out over the centuries. When you have leadership that is visionary, it is not unusual for some not to see what you see. It's not unusual for some to fear the unknown. But ask yourself this question. If Sir Simeon was fearful, if Sir Simeon had listened to the mob, if those 10 faithful friends of Sir Simeon were fearful, if they had listened to the mob, would we today have a Bank of Nevis, $1 billion Nevisian enterprise? And the answer is unequivocally no. So I've lined up my speech from last night, and I'm asking Vaughn to play it for us, because I think it has a message in it for the people of Nevis and the people of the Federation.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much, Mr. Master of Ceremonies. And let me recognize, of course, our beloved Deputy Governor General, Rana Hailita Liburd, our distinguished Prime Minister, the Honorable Dr. Terence Drew, and incidentally I admire his sense of style and his blue tie in Nevis. Our Governor of the Central Bank, my good friend Timothy Antoine, board members, past and present, staff, my own cabinet colleagues, ladies and gentlemen. We have heard much this evening, and unlike Timothy Antoine, the governor, my brief is not to be brief. And so allow me if I take my time to say what I have to say. We have, for those of us who read our Bibles, and for those of us who favor the King James Version, the word doubt, I am advised, appears some 33 times. The word hope appears some 126 times. It therefore means that those who wrote the Word of God were more concerned with hope than they were with doubt. And as I heard so many testimonies of Sir Simeon Daniel, I smiled inwardly because I have always been a student of Sir Simeon. And I had hoped that someone before me would have commented not only on his acumen and his bravery and his courage, but also would have commented on those 10 individuals that he persuaded to part with $25,000 each to come up with the $250,000 to start the Bank of Nevis. Sometimes you see, we talk about directors and managing directors and manager, but without those 10, there will be no bank, and therefore no director, managing director, or anyone else. And so I think we ought to pay homage to those as well, because they took a leap of faith. Now, as I listened to the accolades being poured on Sir Simeon, I could only reflect, knowing him as I did, what it must have been like 40 years ago, when he would have come to the people of Nevis as a fairly newly minted premier and said to them that he had the aspiration to have a bank called the Bank of Nevis. I don't have to look too far, because you heard in our resident poet and in the words of his poem how some people must have viewed that with scorn and would have heaped odium and contempt upon the very idea that Nevis could have a bank. And as we heard from someone earlier say, it was referred to in quite unflattering terms as Sim's Bank. You see, in this island called Nevis, we have a way, you see, that we like to be pejorative in our language. So because it was Sim's idea, it was Sim's Bank. And I want us to reflect on where this island was 40 years ago, and reflect on the reality that had it not been for those who had a vision perhaps beyond the ordinary, all of you gathered here this evening perhaps would not have been here. All of the pleasant and great things that we have heard would not have been possible, because it requires sometimes visionary leadership to accomplish great things. And Sir Simeon was a visionary leader. And visionary leadership is sometimes lonely. It is lonely because those who don't share that vision do everything in their power to cry it down, to decry, and to say the most awful things that they can imagine. 40 years on, who was right and who was wrong? 40 years on, the ship that is born, is that what the Nobel laureate poet is telling us, is sailing. And I hear the word $1 billion being thrown around. It means, therefore, that the ship is not only sailing, the ship is now sailing in champagne waters. But imagine with me, if you will, where we would have been were it not for this man with this idea to move us beyond what we know to what is possible. And so you see, in this time in which we live now, 40 years on, and this island called Nevis, I think we must all be cognizant that sometimes ideas which seem far-fetched, ideas which seem beyond our reach and beyond our capacity, ideas where people gather in groups and intellectualize and tell you all the reasons why it would not be possible, that those with hope, those with vision, those with stick-to-itiveness are ultimately honored, even if they're no longer with us. And so I celebrate Sir Simeon, but beyond celebrating Sir Simeon, I celebrate what Sir Simeon stood for, because he stood for what was good and great about us as Nevisians. He understood that there is something in our DNA that allows us to aspire and allows us to succeed and allows us to be great, notwithstanding the size of our island, notwithstanding the circumstances into which we were born. And I believe that that is the lesson of the Bank of Nevis. It's not so much the $1 billion, but that an idea born of Nevis, an idea born of Sir Simeon, an idea born of a few, that idea could take root, and that all of us gathered here now could benefit from it, even if some of us did not see the value in it 40 years ago. You see, some come to Jesus early and some come to Jesus late. But what is important is that we come to Jesus. And so we, ladies and gentlemen, must appreciate that when we celebrate institutions such as the Bank of Nevis, when we celebrate accomplishments like the Bank of Nevis, we are celebrating what is best of us and what is best in us as Nevisians. Now, I don't know what the future holds for me. Indeed, I think none of us knows what the future holds for us. But of one thing that I am certain, that the people of Nevis are imbued with greatness. The people of Nevis have something in their DNA which differentiates and demarks them and positions them for great things in this world. And the moment that we forget it is the moment that we start to doubt ourselves, doubt our capacity, and doubt our ability to succeed and to prosper and to do well in this world. As Premier of this island, I am exceedingly proud of institutions like the Bank of Nevis. But the Bank of Nevis is not alone. I'm exceedingly proud of this island of Nevis. I'm exceedingly proud of the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis. I was somewhere recently, and a young man, and it's important that I say he was male, he was a man, he said to me that he had visited a neighboring island which shall remain nameless. And he said that he was grateful that he was not pregnant. And I said, well, it would have been a surprising thing for you to be pregnant. And he said, well, I was grateful because the number of potholes that I experienced in the roads in this neighboring island, that if I were pregnant, I would have ended up at the delivery room. And then he went on to say that we here on this island and in this country take some things for granted that others do not have. And I marveled because, you know, St. Kitts and Nevis is the smallest of them all. But yet, we are hearing today, 40 years on, of the aspirations, and we heard the CEO. The CEO is telling you and telling me that in time to come, every territory in this region will have a Bank of Nevis. And CEO, I'm going to hold you to it. Because despite what some may think, I'm hoping to live for a long time. So I'm going to be back for the 80th celebration. I'm going to hold you to it, CEO, because I have heard it being whispered in some quarters that the Bank of Nevis has somehow outgrown its Nevisionness. That as you look now regionally and internationally, you must get a name that somehow leaves a little Nevis behind, I'm saying don't do it. Remember where you come from. Remember all the stories you would have heard. Remember those 10 who put their hands in their pockets and put $25,000, which in 1985 was a significant sum. Remember that for 5 years we are told there was no profit, and the sacrifice that the directors would have made so that we can now enjoy what we enjoy today, $1 billion institution. And as I reflect on whether you should go to St. Lucia as the Bank of Nevis, or go to Jamaica as the Bank of Nevis, and some say, oh, that is not good marketing. I remind you that we once had a Bank of Nova Scotia, and we had a Royal Bank of Canada. And they were not ashamed to say that I'm from Nova Scotia or I'm from Canada. And just so, we must not be ashamed to say we are the Bank of Nevis. And so as you consider expansion, I want you to expand everywhere you go, but make sure it's bond strong. And you continue to endure, because that, in my opinion, will be the lasting legacy and memory to those who sacrifice so that we today can enjoy what we have. And so I end by encouraging the Nivision people not to be afraid. I end by encouraging you not to be among those 33 references to doubt in the King James Version. Be among the 126 references to hope, to confidence, to the ability to dream and to realize your dreams, to impart that to your children and your children's children, because that is the Nivision spirit. And when we celebrate the Bank of Nevis, that is what we must celebrate. That this little island could have created something that we now boast about as having $1 billion. And what I find instructive in the message that we got in the poem, they did not give up after years of losses. They persevered. They recognized that things may not be always perfect. But if you have perfect vision, then you can continue to work to make the imperfect perfect. You can continue to toil and to do what is necessary to ensure that all of us now can enjoy what has become now the Bank of Nevis. And so I take the opportunity to wish the chair and his team all the very best for the future, to congratulate you and your staff and all who would have played a role, to remind you that the Nevis Island administration has now taken a small interest in the bank and therefore have an interest in whatever dividend you will declare, and to express my hope that as you extol the billionaire nature of the bank, that the dividends are going to reflect that you are a $1 billion institution, and that we, the people of Nevis and the shareholders, will reap some of that benefit. And so I end, ladies and gentlemen, by expressing that my heart is full. That as a Nivision and as a son of one of the 10 who put in their first $25,000 to make this possible, I feel especially proud of what the Bank of Nevis has achieved. And I congratulate each and every one of you, and I encourage you to continue to forge ahead. Continue in everything we do and we say to remember that we stand on the shoulders of great men and women. Great men and women who took a chance so that you and I could now benefit. Great men and women who, despite the odds and despite the criticism, despite what we heard, may now put my money there. That is Sim Bank. I'm not going to invest with them. Here we are today. And so it is not that criticism is bad, but sometimes you must have singularity and clarity of purpose. And when you are committed to the task at hand, you must embrace that task, because vision demands that we progress sometimes beyond what others may see. I see here Roll Isaac, And he said something the other day which has stayed with me. And I shall give him credit because I had not heard it before. And he said that we will never know what is in the ocean if we are afraid to leave the shore. And I have taken that on board as my sort of personal motto and mantra. I know it's late in my life to have new personal mottos, but I've taken that on because it is a beautiful lesson for us, the people of Nevis. We will never know what is in the ocean if we are afraid to leave the shore. So Simeon Daniel was not afraid to leave the shore. Those 10 faithful friends who put their money in were not afraid to leave the shore. Hansel Manners, when he said he will do it without even consulting the boss in his home, his wife, was not afraid to leave the shore. And because these men and women of goodwill, of courage, were not afraid to leave the shore, you and I now know that the ocean has a beautiful, magnificent, billion-dollar enterprise called the Bank of Nevis. May God bless you. And may the lesson of the Bank of Nevis for us all be to give us confidence. Confidence that as Nevisians we can do anything that we can conceive. God bless you. Happy 40th anniversary Bank of Nevis, and may you continue from strength to strength.
That, ladies and gentlemen, was my address just yesterday at the Bank of Nevis celebration. I did not have a script, and so I spoke from the heart, but I also spoke from having some institutional knowledge of the struggles of setting up that bank, of persuading people that that was the right thing to do in a time when the critics had many negative things to say. And I shall always remember the courage of Sir Simeon. He has proven to be one of the most courageous leaders, not only here in Nevis, but in our region, because he was a man of conviction. And sometimes, as I said in my speech, there are occasions when others may not share the vision because they simply do not see what you see. And that, at the end of the day, is the value of leadership. To have leaders that have a vision that goes beyond perhaps what you can imagine and what you can see, but leadership that seeks to bring people along to the idea that we can be bigger than we are, that our dreams should not be limited to the size of this island or the circumstances into which we were born, and that if we dream big, we can achieve. And that, for me, is of fundamental importance, even as I now try to navigate the leadership of this island. My position to my people is that we must dream big dreams, and we must be able to achieve big things, even when there are some who tell you you cannot, that you ought to be afraid of the ocean, you must not strike out from the shore. You can, as was said, never know what is in the ocean if you are afraid to leave the shore. Some of us find ourselves in life paralyzed by fear. You have the opportunity to buy a little piece of land, to invest in a little business, and you're paralyzed by fear. You are like that servant in the Bible who, when the master gave out talents, gave one of the servants, I believe it was 2 talents. The servant, fearful that he would lose these talents, hid them. And when the master came back, while the other servants were saying to the master, "Master, you gave me 10 talents. Here I've turned it into 20. Master, you gave me 4. I've turned it into 8. This one said, "Master, here's the talents that you gave me. I was afraid to lose, and therefore I did nothing with it. I hid it away." And the master rebuked that servant. There are valuable lessons all around us about the need for us as a people to have courage and to strike out into this world and to not be afraid of the world, but to embrace the world, understanding that there are challenges, to be sure, but that as Nevisians we have the capacity to overcome those challenges. There's some who spend their entire life telling you all the things you cannot do. Spend their entire lives telling you all the things that you're not capable of doing. And when you say, I have an aspiration, I want to do this, oh, that has never been done before. And I have seen what courage has done in my own life. I mentioned my father was one of the first to invest his money in the Bank of Nevis and to take sail on that ocean, that uncharted water. But having confidence in Sir Simeon and having a love of this island, he and his cohorts were prepared to put their money where their mouth is. Courage. I now sit as the premier of the island of Nevis. And when I reflect on where I was born in Scarborough, in Hanley's Road, when I reflect what my youth was like and how poverty was my constant companion, to move from there to become the Premier of Nevis is an essay in courage. It is an essay in ambition. It says to every little boy and girl out there who might be listening to me that nothing is beyond your grasp. Nothing is beyond your capacity. If you can dream it, if you can conceive it, you can achieve it. And too many of our people spend a lifetime telling our youth, telling their neighbors, telling their friends that the answer is no and that they cannot. Too many times we hear, oh, an investor is coming into the island. That investor gonna fool are you? But what makes that investor so bright and so superior that he will fool are you? It comes from a sense of inferiority. It comes from this concept that we are less than. And I'm here tonight to assure the people of Nevis that we are not less than anyone. We are not saying that we are better than anyone, but I'm certainly saying that we are not less than anyone. And that we have capacity, we have brain power, we have intellect. And that sometimes the thing that keeps us back is that we do not have the courage. Some people have some great ideas, they want to start a business, but then by the time they talk to people, they change their minds because the people that they talk to discourage them. Tell them all the things that they can't do. And so the story of the Bank of Nevis is an important life lesson. When I heard the poem and Hansel Manor say that they refer to it as Sim Bank, because there are people out there whose job is to oppose. But I ask you 40 years on, for all of those who are out there saying, Sim Bank, it must fail, don't study with them, that's foolishness. Let us agitate against it. 40 years on, will history remember them? Because I was there last night and I didn't hear one of them name mentioned. You know who I heard mentioned? Sir Simeon, the visionary. This thing called leadership isn't easy, you know. Because there's some out there who have no vision. In fact, they don't have a clue. They have not one idea to advance this island and this country. Not one. But everything that is proposed, they have an opinion on. And they are capable of speaking all day, every day, and telling you, the people, what is good for you and what is not good for you. And that is why I often say to people, when you see that you have these pundits engaging in their punditry, examine who they are. Because a man who is unemployed should be questioned closely when he says he has a plan to create jobs in the country. A man who has never had a business should be questioned closely when he says to business people that I have the answers to grow your business. A man who has never exercised any leadership in anything that he has done should be placed under a microscope when he comes to tell you that he has the answers for your problems. These, my friends, are important truths. And more we have a cadre of people who criticize everything, who condemn everything, who attack everything, but who themselves have achieved nothing. And so 40 years ago, these were the same types of individuals who were attacking Sir Simeon. Oh, the bank is for he and his family. Study here, them gonna benefit from it. 40 years on. And we are all celebrating the fact that Sir Simeon was a visionary. 40 years on, we're all celebrating the fact that the Bank of Nevis is now $1 billion institution. And that, praise be to God, Sir Simeon and the faithful 10 were able to give us this institution. 40 years on, we have a New Vision story to be proud of. But I remind you that it was not always so. And at the start of that story, when those who could not see, those were the ones whose voices were loudest. In fact, Sir Simeon had to go to America, you know. He had to go overseas to people like my father to ask them to invest. We should not forget. We should not forget. I say sometimes, even as I hear the criticisms of my own leadership, I am comforted by Holy Writ. Because in the Bible we are told that when Pontius Pilate offered the crowd, shall I save Jesus, the Son of God, a man who was without sin? Or shall I save Barabbas, an old criminal? The crowd said, save Barabbas and crucify Jesus. That is the nature of humankind. And sometimes it's long after you have been crucified that some come back now to say grudgingly, Lord, he been right, you know. He been right. As I stood there last night on that rostrum, I considered, what if Sir Simeon was still alive today? And could hear now the voices and the accolades, and everybody thinks now that the Bank of Nevis was a brilliant idea. But I remind us all that it was not always so. And that 40 years ago there was a cacophony of sound and fury, a crescendo of noise against this very idea, coming from a place of fear and insecurity, that Nevis could not have a bank. 40 years on, the bank is $1 billion institution. I leave you to ponder on that. Now, before I open the lines, because I do not forget that this is a talk show, I want to say to the people of Barnsgut that we have done some construction work there on what they call the back road. And I've seen the transformation that has occurred there. We have had the constant agitation of the Honorable Latoya Jones, the CCM candidate in that area for St. Thomas's, who has every day, agitated for more to be done in St. Thomas's. I am pleased that we have been able to answer her call in relation to that particular road in Barnsgate. I would want to go on record to congratulate the Honorable Spencer Brand, Danny Williams and the entire team. I want to go on record to congratulate the Cabinet, which has approved the funding for these projects to happen. I want to thank all the heavy equipment operators in the Barnsgate and St. Thomas's area who would have helped on that project. And I want tonight to commit to the people of St. Thomas's, as I commit to the people of St. John's and St. James and St. Paul's and St. George, that this government is not going to leave any community behind. Sometimes we understand that the pace of development is slow. If we had all the resources, we'd be doing all the roads and every other bit of infrastructure in Nevis at the same time. But we do not have the resources to do it all at once. And so development for us is incremental. But I believe that the track record that you've seen is demonstrative of a government that cares, a government that listens, and a government that delivers. And tonight I can say that the people in Barnsgate have better infrastructure because this government cares. And I say kudos to them. Every time I've gone to Barnsgate, they have always welcomed me and treated me well, and I say thank you to them. We shall continue to do the best we can in every community on this island of Nevis. No community, no parish, no village, no hamlet will be left behind, because we only have one Nevis. As the young people say, one Nevis, never two. And so we must work together, develop this island, and make sure that we bring ease, we bring comfort to all the people, all A-L-L, all the people of this island. That's what we are seeking to do. That's what we are seeking to achieve. Now I shall open the lines. It is 5 minutes to the hour of 9 o'clock. This is our final show for 2025, and I therefore urge all out there who may wish to call in to do so, and to have their voices heard on this, the final show for the year. Now, if you want to use the platform to say Merry Christmas or Happy New Year to someone, feel free to do that as well. As I often remind you, this is your show. I am but the host, and I'm here to provide whatever little guidance I can, but ultimately once the lines open, I hand things over to you, the audience. So I invite you now to call in. The numbers are 869-469-1616 and 869-469-1700. Those are the numbers to call. Again, 869-469-1616 and 869-469-1700 if you want to be a part of this show this evening. And with that said, let us now go to the phones and take our first call. Good evening, you're on the mark.
Remember, good night.
Yes, good evening to you.
Good evening, and good evening to all your listeners. And seasonal greetings to all your listeners. Remember, Brantley, it seems like me not talk to you for a whole year. Me miss you. You hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. So, tonight me listen to you. Remember, Brantley, oh man, you're a preacher, you know. So suggest why you not give the data the chance to run the country and then you hit the pulpit. That's a good idea.
Which daughter you want to give a chance to run the country?
For the whole night you talk about Sing Daniel. Right. So the daughter, me see one visionary in the daughter, same way.
Oh, well, that's all you see.
Yeah, not me alone. Not me alone, plenty people.
Okay.
Anyway, let me start to get to some things. Pertaining to the poultry, I mean, we recognize that no chicken go back on the table from the poultry for the Christmas. From the poultry farm. You with me?
Yes, I'm listening to you.
Yeah. So what happened to that?
But anybody had promised you chicken from the poultry farm for Christmas?
No.
Okay.
But
So you just decide you're going to say something then?
Brantley, no give me that trouble at the end of the day and the last.
All right, go ahead.
The poultry farm still up and running?
Well, it is still on the way, yes. I'm advised that construction has started, and so we are optimistic that once that project is completed, we'll be able to have local chicken available.
Okay. The lady, me kind of delay because I want to hear the lady and the prayer. Anyway, John chapter 10 and verse 10. For the thief cometh not to kill, steal, and to destroy. But Jesus said, I have come to give life and to give life more abundantly. Remember, let me jump off of the last show and give somebody a chance. If you're going to break, maybe come back. All right?
All right, brother. Thank you very much. And if you don't come back or if I don't hear from you again, please have a wonderful Christmas and a Happy New Year as well.
Yeah, the same day, but maybe.
All right, good.
Okay then.
We're taking your calls, ladies and gentlemen. 869-469-1616 and 869-469-1700. Those are the numbers to call. And, of course, we invite in one and all, including those of you out there, those from the CCM team, if you're listening and you want to call in and wish your constituents a Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. This is an opportunity as well, because the truth is that this show is widely listened to, and certainly we have listeners all around the world who tune in on a regular basis, and I thank them for tuning in. They tune in via YouTube, via Facebook, they listen to the radio, they're on www.vonradio.com, they're on 860 AM. We have so many avenues that people can listen to the show and be a part of the show, and so I welcome one and all to call now. We have an hour, and I want to turn that hour over to the callers. Let's go back to the phones. Good evening, you're on the mark. Hello?
Good night, Honorable Mark. How are you doing?
Good night, my brother. I'm doing well, thank you.
Well, I call it because I like what you're saying about the young lady getting... we said district in the BVI. You call other village different. But I glad what you're saying about getting the place fixed, because it has some, I hate to hear when some people saying because these people don't vote for this party, they don't get a district fixed, they don't get that fixed. And I look at it that once you're the premier, you're supposed to get every place fixed, whether the people don't vote for you.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's where the mistake a lot of countries and a lot of governments does fail. And because it's the same people, some of the same people who vote for you live in the same district. So how can some people say that they mean fixing this because these people don't vote for me? I think once you're running a country, you're supposed to look at every district and get it fixed. That no one don't say that you leaving out the district because some vote in this place, thing like that. What do you think about that?
Oh, well, I agree with you. I don't think it's any secret that the people of St. Thomas's have traditionally voted against the CCM, but the point about it is we have said that this is only one Nevis, and we will continue to invest in every village and every community in Nevis. So that road that has been done in Barnsgut was an important initiative by us, and I can say that we will come back because we have some work to do in Jessops, we have some work to do in Cotton Ground, and we will be coming back from time to time, not only to St. Thomas's, but to the other villages and communities around the island as well. So I agree with you, caller. The purpose of government is to govern, and to govern for all of the people. And that's why I'm emphasizing that. So no district in Nevis is going to be left out.
And what I do not like about politics situation is where people just be fooled. Only when election time come around, they do things in the villages because to get elected.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't like that at all, because I think the people getting fooled because after election finish, the politicians start to say they don't have any money. But why they could find money when election time come around? And that's where I think that some of the voters should cause some of the people to lose. Because now you go to them ordinary days, they say they don't have no money, they can't find no money. But why they can't find money when time election close to election? Tell me.
Well, you know, I can't answer that. People function in various ways. What I can speak to is here in Nevis, we're trying to do our very best.
Yeah, because I try to hear this nonsense all over where we as voters, some.
All right, caller. Yes. Caller.
Yeah.
How are things looking where you are for Christmas?
Well, we had Christmas in the city last week. Was really attended, and rain came down, and even rain come down and gave it a little lick. The people themselves stay around, and things coming around pretty good. Can't complain. All of you could say thank God for life, because you know what's happening in outer countries. Thing is really tough.
Yes.
Because when you watch at Jamaica, and the people in Jamaica suffering, and we could say we could wake up every morning and get something to eat. But in the BVI, as again, we still here in the politics situation. But Christmas, we say, looking forward for Christmas, and after Christmas, then everything jump off and start to go normal again. But I can't forget your band Honeybees. I know they will light up Nevis for Christmas, and I would like you to help those guys to organize something like what we had done here with them. Exchange a culture, thing that let people see our band from here in the BVI. Come up there and celebrate the same a cultural day. And I know it will get supported by St. Kitts, which you all believe in a lot of culture. So I would like you to sit down with those guys and get some money, a sponsor, that we can start to do the same thing down here. And I think the other countries who banders come here to do the same thing. When I look at it, that we can't be bringing, and nobody ain't calling for us to also do the same thing. Showing you our music. What do you think about that?
Brother, we continue to do our best in terms of promoting the music and sharing and engaging with other islands, but these things are expensive undertakings, and sometimes it comes down to simply not having the financing. But it's a good idea. I'm happy that the honeybees were able to come down, and I know that they're always impressive. So we look forward to doing more of that in the future. I have some other people who are trying to call, however, so I will wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year to you and all the people in the beautiful BVI. And thank you, because you've been a regular caller this year. Thank you very much.
I would like to do the same thing. Merry Christmas to all the listeners, them all over, for listening to this show, which is important to a lot of us who are outside. Thank you.
All right, my brother. Okay,
right.
let's stick with the phones and take some additional calls. Let me say good evening, caller. You're on the mark. We've lost that caller. Caller, please call back in. Can we try again then and see if we have somebody? Good evening, caller. You're on the mark.
Hello, good night.
Yes, good evening.
Yeah, I would like to talk about an issue that taxi drivers have at Pinny's Beach.
Yes.
Now, the problem we have down there is that they have some parking lots down there. But there was no vacancy made for taxi drivers. Now, we go down there, all the parking lot is full out with private vehicles. We normally go and pull up next to Sunshine. We stop there waiting for our guests. The security guard come and tell us we have to move. And now wait for the taxis to park.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm wondering if there could be a possibility that some vacancy could make that a taxi driver could pull up and wait for the guests then.
Well, this is the first I'm hearing that that's an issue, because that park has been open now for a while. It was open for C50 and therefore 2 years now. This is the first time I'm hearing that that's a problem, because as far as...
That's a problem for this tourist season. I'm a taxi driver.
Yes.
And I go there, I sit there, and one security guard in particular, he all the time come, you can't stay here. Asking where the taxi should park. I don't know, you got to find somewhere to park.
But well, just let me help me understand. So you say you're simply waiting to pick up your guests?
Yeah, you go there to pick up guests, especially when the cruise ships are in. People on the beach, and we go down there, and some of them want to ride back in town. Some might tell you, come back for me 2 o'clock. Like if you get there a little early, no way for you to park and wait.
Okay, well that is it.
I tell you have to move.
Okay, well that's interesting. Well, I will have a conversation to find out what the situation is, because in my experience down there at nights it gets very busy and it's difficult, but during the daytime there's normally lots of parking. So I'm not understanding why you can't find a park.
I got it before, and all the lots are full out. I pull up the next to Sunshine. You come and tell me I got to move.
Okay. All right.
Where should I park here? I don't know where you're going to park, but you got to move from here. You drive around, everywhere is full out.
Okay. All right. Well, that is a matter. Thank you for bringing it to my attention. As I said, it's the first I'm hearing of that, but I shall certainly ask a question and try and find some solution, because we clearly want our taxi drivers to do well. Yeah,
that's one of the that is one of the most tourist destinations, especially when the cruise ships are in, and the tourists, they're looking for a taxi driver to get back into town.
Yeah.
If no, we're there to park.
All right, I got you. I hear you. And as I said, let me try to have some conversations and see if we can find a solution. Okay.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot for bringing it to my attention. It is just about 11 minutes past the hour of 9 o'clock. This is our final show for 2025. If you're just tuned in, this is On the Mark, and I'm your host, Mark Brantley. And we are trying to take your calls, and let us therefore go back to the phones. Good evening, you're On the Mark.
Hey, Mark.
Yes, brother, how are you?
Yeah, man, good night. I just want to hear up to my brother over there in St. Christ, meow. And aggressive in America. It's a put rival.
So they're hearing up meow and aggressive?
Yeah. They might listen.
All right. Good, man. Well, let me hear you. All right. I always like to hear when you call to hear up meow and aggressive. All right. Thanks a lot, and Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to you, my brother. We're taking your calls. 869-469-1616. 869-469-1700. Those are the numbers, to call if you want to be a part of this, our final show for 2025. While we wait for the phones to ring, of course, as I said last week, as has become the tradition for me, we have asked Vaughn to play the budget address, and the budget would have had various information in it. It is rather compendious. It took me 2 hours and 20 minutes, I think it was, to deliver that budget. But I want to thank my team. I want to thank the team at the Ministry of Finance, but also my colleagues in the Parliament, including, of course, my colleague opposite, the Honorable Cleon Stapleton Simmons. She came in, she placed the blows, but at the end of the day, I think we had a good budget discussion and a good budget debate. Let me come back to that after this call. Good evening, you're on the mark.
Yes, good evening, sir.
Good evening to you.
And how are you, sir?
I'm doing well, man. How are you?
I'm not too bad.
Okay, good.
First up, let me tell you compliments to the season. And I wish you and your family all the best moving forward.
Same to you, my brother. Same to you.
Okay. A couple of questions. One, what is the situation on this grandeur business with the government? What's the position? What's the latest?
Well, there's no latest as far as I'm aware. In fact, it's one of the matters I'm hopeful we'll get some clarity on in the budget next week. So I'm waiting to hear what the federal government is going to say in relation to that industry in the coming week. So the budget is going to be read on Tuesday, and so I look forward to that discussion. So you and I can certainly speak about it after next week.
Okay, great. Marvelous. One more concern I have. I remember some years ago you mentioned that you were treating those persons on dialysis treatment that goes over to St. Kitts twice and 3 times a week. I know that the government has been doing a fair share in its assistance towards the patients and so on.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just wondering, if St. Kitts has more than one machine, or they have several machines as I'm aware, why can't we make some arrangements to have one machine, at least one machine over here, and cut down on the traveling? Because my wife, suffers some kidney failure, and going over twice and 3 times a week, after she comes off of the machine, spend 4 hours on the machine, sometimes she's drained, right? And sometimes I've got to be there to, to keep her going and, comfort her and so on. And it's rather strenuous. And so I'm wondering if there's any possibility that we could have a dialysis machine installed over here.
So, caller, I believe me when I say I hear you and I understand your concern. I know you personally. I know your wife personally. In fact, I know all of our dialysis patients personally, and I really do feel for them because it is a burden to travel. What I will say to you, however, is that it is not just a question of getting a machine and putting in a machine in Nevis. Your wife would no doubt tell you that dialysis that she gets in St. Kitts, there are a number of factors that go into providing that and doing it safely. And one of the critical factors is to have the staff, the trained personnel, to have the water treatment, which is critical. If that water is polluted in any way, the patient dies. So,
I'm aware of that.
So it is not just a question of a machine. And I think that sometimes when I talk to people, that they say, well, man, you can't just buy a machine and ease the burden. I have often explained that it is not just a question of buying a machine. When you're talking about dialysis, you're talking about a very complicated and complex issue of machine, yes, but the nursing, the nephrology, the water treatment, the management of that, because if you don't have all the support in place, having that machine in Nevis would actually be worse for us than what is currently in place, because it means that we get it wrong, people will die. And so I don't want to have that happening. What I can tell you, caller, is that we are hopeful that in the new year we will have something to report in relation to dialysis. We have been working feverishly behind the scenes, to see whether or not we can bring some relief. I can't say much on it yet because we don't yet have anything finalized. But I'm hopeful early in the new year we will be able to say something to the people of Nevis on that matter. But I'm reluctant to go down the road that you have suggested because there are complications associated with dialysis which can't be solved simply by a machine. You have to have a lot more than just the machine.
I'm aware that you have to have a competent water source, and you have to have proper trained nurses and doctors and so on.
Absolutely.
But at the same breath, we have an exchange with Cuba, and we get nurses from Philippines and wherever else, and we're looking to have some from Ghana, I hear, and so to get the resources, I don't see it as such a big problem.
Well, you don't see it to be a problem, caller, but you talk about nurses and doctors and all of that. We also have to figure out how to pay them.
Yeah, but don't we get we have an exchange with Cuba?
Well, we still have to pay them.
Okay, so we hire nurses all the time?
Well, we do, but I'm simply saying to go and set up dialysis is not just as easy as you're making it appear. There's significant cost that's involved, not just in the personnel, but in the supplies, in the requirements that come with dialysis. It is a very complex process, and that is all that I'm saying. I'm not denying that there is a need or that people need relief. I'm simply saying that it is not as simple as you seem to be making it. Just hire some people and get the thing going. We are in some discussions now, and as I said, we hope to have something to report in short order. But I am not going to engage publicly in speculation about it because I understand. Right now, for example, the federal government is offering us dialysis in St. Kitts. I think the cost is, what, $300 or $400 a treatment? Something in that region?
Yeah.
It used to be up at $800 and then they reduced it, right? But I could tell you that is a fraction of the real cost. It is being heavily subsidized. And so it's one thing for us to say that we want this service, but it's a different matter altogether when we start to talk, well, how are we going to pay for it? How are we going to ensure that this service is sustainable and that we can provide a quality service to our people on an ongoing basis, not just start it and then it flop because we can't afford to pay suppliers for the materials that we need. So all of these are factors that we must take into account. And as I said, the team is currently working on something, and I hope that we'll be able to make an announcement in due course.
Okay, great. I hear you. I'm anxiously awaiting further information on that.
Yes.
Moving forward. I think you have addressed all the concerns that I have thus far. And like I said before, all the best for you and the family for the rest of the season.
And I wish you and the family the same, brother. By the way, how's your son doing, the older one?
He's doing pretty well.
He's doing good, okay.
Well, he's working in St. Kitts now, and he lives in St. Kitts.
Okay, well, give him my regards, please.
I certainly will.
Okay, cheers.
Okay.
Take good care. It is 21...
Right.
Yes. Hello?
Okay.
Okay, it's 21 minutes past the hour of 9 o'clock, and we continue to take your calls at 869-469-1616 and 1700. I was thanking my colleagues in the cabinet and my colleagues on the government benches. The only person who showed up for the debates on the government benches, on the opposition benches, was the Honorable Cleon Stapleton Simmons. The Honorable Dr. Janice Daniel Hodge was not present for the budget debates this year. We saw the speaker said that she had received notice that Dr. Daniel Hodge was not going to be present, and then we saw a statement that Dr. Hodge put out publicly to say that she will not be present. Beyond that, I don't know why she was not present, but the representation from the opposition was only the Honorable Cleon Stapleton Simmons. I would say that the budget went seamlessly. The debate was good. It was enriching. I think we had a good opportunity to explain to the people of Nevis what we have done and what we plan to do. I think the budget was realistic. It took into account what the situation is on the ground. We did not overpromise. We intended to work within the limits. And one of the things that I was very proud of is the fact that we were able yet again to table our annual audited reports. I'm going to get back to that question of audited reports after this call. Good evening, caller. You're on the mark.
Yes, Honorable, I had to call back.
Yes.
I had to call back to tell your friend in Mount Strat for the new year, he have to take a trip in Nevis, because I hear he said tonight it seems like he wants you to give up your leadership to the opposition leader without going to vote. So I have to tell him next year he have to come out of Mount Strat and visit Nevis and see how they look. And don't stay home there and listen to the radio and talk and don't know what's going on. So this is for his new year. Save your money and take a trip in Nevis and also visit you. I got it again.
All right. Well, thank you very much for that. And I'm sure he's listening. And I'm sure that he will take your advice and finally come to Nevis for a change and to see for himself what is going on. I was a little surprised because he talks about Nevis so much. I thought that he had first-hand knowledge of Nevis, but I gather that he does not. So, of course, he's always welcome, as indeed everyone else welcome to the island of Nevis. Let's go back to the phones. Good evening, caller. You're on the mark. Hello?
Brantley.
Yes, you're on the air.
Yes. The amount of cargo may bring a Nevis. The amount of cargo may bring a Nevis from the country. The amount to sit on up out there with me. About 3 times they give up, you know, me say me not feel on again. Yes.
You used to sail between where? Hello?
Oh.
Caller? Hello?
You hear me?
Yeah, we're not hearing you properly at all.
You hear me better?
Yes, now I'm hearing you.
Yeah, me used to sail between Puerto Rico, bring up cargo.
Oh,
for,
Puerto Rico, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
St. Nevis. So, Harsted Mary agent, and you see, like, Sona car business built from scratch to up. You know, then time, you know, it used to be the wooden port. No sink it, just outside Rams. Then afterwards, then send away up to the port where they build.
Man, if you remember that wooden port, that's a long time ago.
Well, this is how much I will tell you. So, you get me?
Yes.
Yeah, me tell me got family in it. Me got family big house on it. Me got friends on it, but me just not calling. You know, so me don't need this. Me don't know you to this modern state that is now. Dr. Janice and you're putting on Dr. Bartlett and so forth and so. Me got idea. You get me? Me got idea.
All right. Well, you're still invited to come, because Nevis has been transformed in recent years, and you need to see it for yourself.
Well, you have to transform. You have to transform. We can't believe still that your budget cut down from 60 something to 30 something. What that is?
Our budget wasn't cut down. What do you mean? The amount that we budgeted to receive from Sinkits?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I will have an opportunity to set out that matter in full when I speak in the National Parliament next week, God willing. But what I will say is this, caller, is that we have been agitating for a fair share of the CBI revenues since perhaps going back to around 2010.
Right.
The promise of Team Unity was that we would finally get a fair share.
Yeah.
And what we proposed has always been consistent. Just divide the money on a population basis. That, to my mind, is a fair assessment. That has always been our proposal. That proposal was taken, it was bandied about, it was some criticized it, whatever, and we have now come to a position where that proposal has been accepted. The difficulty now is that the proposal is being accepted when the CBI revenues are at historic lows. So if you're now getting a percentage of a smaller number, then you have to adjust your budget accordingly, and that is what we have done.
So then tell you how much money then pick up on the CDI?
Of course. We are getting monthly now a report that this is the monthly intake, and then therefore this is the amount that Nevis will get. So it is more transparent, but as I said, the problem now is that less money is coming into the country from CBI.
Okay, but
that is a real problem.
Yeah, and you say that it now accepted. Why you may say from day one, right? It more accepted. So in other words, now, because you know, me listen to Dr. Joe a lot, round table and so forth. So then and therefore, you're telling me now that I come to an agreement for them pay out all the fees that what you get after all the fees them paid out. That's what you get.
Well, I just said that, caller. The share now is based on a pro rata basis, where Nevis is going to get 25% and St. Kitts is going to get 75%. It's based on the population, a position based on population. Nevis's population is slightly more than 25%. I think we're more like 27%. But nevertheless, we are getting a quarter of the proceeds now. The issue for me is not the percentage. We've always agitated for a percentage. The issue is if a percentage of a number that is small, then they mean that what you get is going to be small. The percentage of a number that is large, it means that what you get is going to be large. Let me put it in context for you.
Right.
There was a time when St. Kitts was pulling in over $600 million a year. If Nevis was getting its 25% then, Nevis would be getting 150 million plus. We were getting nowhere close to that. Even in the best times, when we were getting $66 million, that's the most we got, we were still nowhere close to a fair share. Now, because the amount that is coming in has dropped significantly, the 25% now does not come up to as much as 66 million. You get my point?
Yeah, of course, we understand all that. But
right.
the point when we want to get from you, Dr. Jew, maybe it's not what Dr. Jew said. Dr. Jew said, after all fees have been paid out.
But that was always the position, caller. You must pay out the fees. It's like saying that you're giving a man X% of gross profit when you ain't pay your bills yet.
Okay, right? me understand it. So let me give somebody else one chance. So let me see if we can get back here. Because me want to be fair tonight because of your last show. All
right. Thank you very much.
Okay.
We have a half an hour left and we're taking your calls. Let's go straight back to the phones and try this caller. Good evening, caller. You're on the mark.
Good evening, Mr. Brantley.
Good evening to you, my friend.
Okay. Just let me make an announcement, please. May I?
Absolutely.
I want to inform persons who usually get envelopes from Nevis Blind Light and Visually Impaired Society that we start giving out from next week, Tuesday, God willing. And the point person at the credit union is Miss Lundy S. Dale. If you are not able to run up the steps, you just have to tell the security who you come to and so on, and they would get her. She will run down or send somebody with it. So it would not be a problem. And the new persons will find ways and means to get to you. And everybody else who do not go to the bank customarily, we will get yours to you as well. So that is taken care of. I want to say thanks to the general public for the continued support with the Davis Blind Light and Visually Impaired Society. In whatever ways you have supported us for the year, whether financially, whatever it might be, your time, because we have to make sure I remember those persons who do come and help us, whether it's to collect money, pass boxes, whatever the situation, drinks, whatever. We are very grateful to you, and we are asking you for your continued support. Persons who buy our tickets regularly, look forward, even without tickets, they are there at the launch. And our new persons who come, we are grateful. And so please continue to support our organization in the new year. I want to tell the public we still need members. We need members. Me, very old. I need to step aside. So please, we need young people. We need those who are even ageable, just so long as they up and about and so still a step good and so on, that they could come and join us. So thanks a lot, Mr. Brantley. Thank you for always taking our calls and all that. We really appreciate it. And so persons who have donated and even who I ain't get to yet are still going to come and ask. So you could listen out for me. I'm going to read, you know what I mean? Because we have to keep the kitty going too. I want to say Happy Christmas to everyone and a blessed New Year, especially persons who would have lost their loved ones. It is still very fresh with the accident. They think it's from last year. And we just have to trust God. And even accidents up here, and even people who may not have been in an accident, but we have relatives. I have at least 2 relatives at the moment here who have passed away. And so we just thank God for His goodness, So take care of yourself, Mr. Brantley, and I wish you well. Okay?
Thank you very much, my lady, and thank you for all the excellent work that you've been doing throughout this year and throughout the long years. And I wish you all the very best for Christmas and for the New Year as well. Ladies and gentlemen, we continue to take your calls. While we wait for the phones to ring, I wanted to just speak again about the budget, because we were able to this year maintain constitutional rectitude by filing with the House and placing in the House the audited reports. That is the independent audit of the accounts of the Nevis Island Administration. Now, some may say that that is not a remarkable achievement, but it is remarkable only because the previous government that was in office from 2006 until 2013 did not file any audited reports in any one of those years, contrary to the Constitution of St. Kitts and Nevis. When we got back into office in 2013, we had to reconstitute the accounts of the NIA and get those reconstituted accounts audited, and then we had to play catch up until we finally got it all in restored propriety, restored constitutional rectitude, and were able then to now move forward. It means therefore that between 2006 and 2013, nobody, not you, not I, not the opposition, not the business community, nobody had any idea about what was happening in terms of the finances of the island of Nevis. We had no idea because there was no audited account, and the Director of Audit by the Constitution is an independent agency, an independent body. They're independent because they must be able to give you an independent statement as to the accounts of the island for the period in question. And I feel exceedingly proud that this government has been able now to ensure that these audited accounts required by our Constitution are now in place, and that the people of Nevis now no longer have to worry about whether or not that is being done. Now, I just want to read very quickly to you. Let me take this call and then I'll come back to that. Let me go back to the phones. Good evening, you're on the mark.
Honorable Premier, good
Yes.
evening, sir.
Good evening to you, brother. How are you?
I am pretty good. This is your final show, so I said let me just call in and, of course, wish everybody all the best for the season. But before I do so, I just wanted to say that it has been my pleasure hosting some of the shows for you in your absence. Thank you for giving me that opportunity, at least to dialogue with people and to get an opportunity to bring some information to members of the general public as well. So it has been my pleasure. I want to agree with you and join with you in saying that I think we had a pretty good budget session this year. I want to congratulate you for doing an excellent job once again in presenting a very good budget, a budget for all of the people of Nevis, and of course a budget that puts the people front and center, put the people first. I think all of us who would have made presentations would have represented our ministries well, and so I want to congratulate all of us for doing a pretty good job in the budget session this year. Of course, you know, we have to do some more work in St. Kitts from next week. But that being said, I think the budget session in Nevis went extremely well. And so kudos to you and kudos to the entire cabinet of the Nevis Island administration. I want to take this opportunity to, as well, before I extend best wishes for the season, to extend condolences to those who probably are in the bereaved column and those who would have lost loved ones during the course of the year. I want to particularly remember at this time our legal advisor, Miss Helen Lewis. You know, she would have lost her brother. And of course, our own cabinet secretary, Mr. Truss, would have lost his aunt, Nurse Sylvia Ward, who was my very good friend as well. And of course, Nurse Ward is the sister of the Deputy Governor General, Her Honor. And so I want to extend condolences to them, our Cabinet Secretary, Mr. Stedman Truss, and Her Honor, Mrs. Hailita Liebert, and the rest of the family, the entire family, who are mourning the loss of Nurse Sylvia Ward. She would have given yeoman service to the island of Nevis as a nurse. She was a wonderful nurse. A nurse who was always being spoken of in a good way by many, many, many people. And so I know it is a hard blow for the Nevisian community, and so condolences to all who are left to mourn her loss. And I want at this time now to extend the very best for the Christmas season and the New Year to my ministry, the staff at my ministry, my entire team at the ministry and at the different departments, at the Department of Agriculture, Marine Resources, at NCDF, NHLDC, and all who work with me. I want to say thank you very much for your support during the past year. I look forward to your support again in the coming year, and together I know we can continue to build this beautiful island of Nevis. I think all in all, it has been a pretty good year for my ministry, and I think it had been a pretty good year for Nevis in general, a pretty good year for the Nevis Island administration. And I want to thank those persons for their support. And of course, I also want to take this opportunity to wish the good people of my constituency of St. George Gingerland the very best for a very happy and Merry Christmas as well. Thank you for your continued support. And of course, as your representative, I will continue to be there for you at all times. And I look forward as well to continuing the good representation in 2026 and beyond. And so to all of us on the island of Nevis, in the Federation of St. Kitts, those in the diaspora, all the very, very best. And of course to your Premier and to the entire cabinet as well. Trust and hope that everybody's going to have a wonderful season. And I want to just encourage persons as we celebrate the season. Whatever we do, let us be moderate in whatever we do. I know it is a season of merrymaking as well. And a lot of the times people tend to overdo, especially with the drinking. And I'm encouraging persons to please, if you're going to drive, please don't drink too much. Be very, very, very careful on the roads. I know we've had a lot of traffic accidents for the past year, and we are hopeful that for the rest of this year, for the rest few days that are left in 2025, that we do not have any more traffic accidents. Please be very, very careful on the road. There's still too many people who are using their cell phone while they're driving. There are still too many people who are over drinking when they intend to drive. And so I am making the plea and I'm making the call for us to be careful And of course, the life you save might just be your very, very own. And as I said, whatever you do for the season, do it in moderation. We don't want to lose anybody during the season. I want as well to encourage the young people in particular to desist from violence during the season, desist from gun violence in particular, and any form of violence. Let this season be a season of love and peace and joy and harmony. And before I leave, I also want to take this opportunity to heartily congratulate the 13 young persons who received awards during the Youth Impact ceremony that was hosted there at the Malcolm Gishad Park this past Monday. And so to the 13 very deserving young people, congratulations. Continue to be focused, continue to keep the light burning, and continue to do what you're doing. And so, once again, to all the very best for the season and a prosperous and productive and healthy 2026.
Thank you very, very much, Honorable Eric Evelyn. Very well said, very well spoken, and let me take the opportunity to wish you a wonderful Christmas season as well, to you and your family and the good people of St. George, whom you serve, and all the best for the new year. I'm pretty certain that I will be seeing you many times before Christmas, and so I will have that opportunity, but publicly. And thank you as well for your contribution to this show over the past year, because you have called, you have been a part of the show, and for that I'm truly grateful. So thank you very, very much, and I'm sure that your constituents heard you. Let me also join you, I should really have done so earlier, to extend condolences on the passing of especially Nurse Ward. The reason I say especially is because, you know, just today somebody was mentioning to me how they remember her in her brown uniform. And she would have served magnificently in terms of the island of Nevis. And so I extend condolences, of course, to all of those who have lost loved ones, but especially on the loss of Nurse Ward. I want to single out our Deputy Governor General, our Cabinet Secretary, but also Dr. Jeffrey Hanley in St. Kitts, our Deputy Prime Minister, all of whom are closely related to Nurse Ward. And so for all of those who are mourning, I join you in extending my deepest condolences.
Thank you, sir. Have a good night.
All right. Thank you very much. That was the Honorable Eric Evelyn, and I thank him for his contribution. And he's always there, always with the people of St. George, always with the people of Nevis. And so I certainly thank him. I think Nevis is privileged to have public servants like the Honorable Eric Evelyn. Ladies and gentlemen, this is On the Mark. We have 15 minutes left. And this is our final show for 2025. And so if there is something that you would like to say, something you would like to add, we invite you to call in and to say that. And people are answering that invitation. So let me go right back to the phones. Good evening. You're On the Mark.
Good evening, Premier.
Good evening to you.
How are you?
Hey, Mackie, I'm good, brother. How are you doing?
I'm pretty good myself.
Season greetings to you.
And to you as well, and to all who listens to this magnificent show. We just want to take this opportunity to thank the general public for supporting the A1 Farms Nevis Coconut Festival, which just took place last Saturday at the Villa. Special thanks to the organizing committee, the many volunteers, the patrons, and of course the many sponsors. This is a festival that is bringing an awareness to the coconut, and the thing is, what we're trying to do is to bring awareness of the many uses of the coconut. And we know it's a difficult task to repopulate Nevis to what it was maybe about 25, 30 years ago in terms of having the amount of coconuts around the island. But we are doing what we can to get as many coconut trees planted so that Nevis could enjoy coconut water and all of the different products made from the coconut. We realize that we have been importing coconuts and we want to put an end to that. So it's an opportunity to get people to, you know, buy into planting coconut and, well, other trees as well, but we are focusing on the coconut. So once again, I want to wish all a very happy Christmas when it comes around, and to thank them once again for supporting the initiative. Thank you, Premier.
Thank you very much, Mackie, and thank you so much for this really important initiative. You have taken something that we all love, the coconut, and you're really trying your very best. And whatever support we can give, we will give, because I agree with you. There was a time that you remember, and I remember, when Nevis was full of coconuts. In fact, we used to do copra, from what I'm told, right here in Nevis. And then we had that lethal yellowing disease that destroyed most of it. So farmers like yourself and others are trying to bring it back. I myself, in my own little way, have been encouraging people to landscape their properties with food, that is, with trees that bear something that you can eat. And I have, since I've been living at my home, planted a lot of coconut palms and have benefited. Just tonight I had coconut water from my trees. Beautiful. So the truth is that we can do it if people just took that initiative. I know you have also been providing coconut palms to people. You have been selling them, through your nursery. So I think that there are opportunities here, and I really admire people like yourself, Mackie, who see something needs to be done and get up and try to do it. A lot of times people say, why the government don't do this and why the government don't do that? And my question sometimes is, why don't you do it? You know, exactly. let us get involved. Let us get involved. Let us do things. Because you imagine we have, let's say we have 13,500 people. That's what the census says here. Let us say in 13,500 we have 6,000 households. I'm just drawing a reference. I don't know what the number is. And imagine if those 6,000 households, let us say of those, 4,000 have a land space, yeah, meaning they have access to a piece of land where they live or whatever. And let us assume those 4,000 people decide, man, I'm going to plant 4 coconut palms. You have 4 by 4 is how much? 16? You realize that's 16,000 coconut palms just there? And what I've experienced, Mackie, you would have more experience than me, but what I've experienced home by me is once they start to bear, look like I don't want to stop.
No, it's a continuous process, and I mean, one coconut tree, once you take care of it, could give you up to 160 nuts per year. You know, and that's being conservative. And if the coconuts are bearing well, 1 lock of jelly could give you a gallon, sometimes up to 2 gallons of jelly water. We're talking $100 a gallon.
Wow!
And so you know, it's an opportunity for someone to make an honest living just by planting coconut trees. I mean, if you look at it, the coconut tree, when you plant it, it's these ones that we have are the dwarf types, and they take about anywhere from 18 to 24 months for the first lock of jelly, and after that they just continue, and the upkeep is very minimal once they take root. You know, you just got to keep them clean, and that's it. They do the rest for you. So, yeah.
All right, my brother.
You know, it's the thing is, the coconut is one of the few plants that you use. Everything on that tree could be used. You know, the jelly for the jelly water, and then, you know, you got the coconut meat itself. You know, and then the branches, you could make shade with the branches. The tree trunk itself, Banky would tell you he went to Indonesia and they weave that into fabric. And every part of that plant can be used. And so it's to me, it's a no-brainer. I mean, it takes a little space, but like you say, everybody have 1 or 2 in the backyard, and there we go. I've seen the difference. I mean, just from our records, we've sold just about 2,500 in the past 2 years. So it's you know, the population is coming back, but you won't have anything like what we used to have at Pinnis. But if everybody take a plot, if you drive around, you would see that they start to spring up, you know.
And that, I think, is what's important. Is one of those things where we may not have, as you say. I know down at Indian Castle we planted close to 5,000. But my simple point is that if each household planted 2 or 3, and if you have a bigger lot, you plant 5 or 6. You know, and I use myself as an example because I will tell you, in my yard, you know, there's an abundance of coconut. You know, abundance of coconut. And I'm saying, but if this yard can produce so many, and like you say, well, we do it for our personal use, but there's money in it now too, because coconut water is very popular. and
Exactly.
and people are willing to pay for it, you know. So I know I buy sometimes from the guys, and you get that water bottle. The large water bottle is $25.
Exactly.
Right? So,
Yep.
you know, there's an opportunity here. And sometimes when I hear people complain and moan, I say, but if only you took a little initiative and did one of these, you know, did these things. I mean, I will tell you the coconut palms that I have in my yard, the only thing I know they get is water. You know, I mean, I don't know that there's any fertilizer and thing involved. So,
Not really, and a lot of it is rain-fed water. as well.
rain-fed, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's not costing you anything.
You know, so just to plant them, and they're available, and you know, you can make a huge difference in terms of just bringing us back where we stop importing it, because frankly some of what we import, I think, is actually inferior to what we have locally, because by the time it gets here, it's been on the ocean, it's been, you know, picked for a while,
It's
etc.
water, put it that way, and sometimes, to be quite frank, it's off.
And that happens as well, you know.
Yep.
That happens as well. So it's one of those things. But I want to publicly credit you, Mackie. I know sometimes people are trying to do things and we take it for granted. But I want to publicly credit you, because I feel that what you're doing is what I want to see more Nivisions doing. Getting up and saying, man, listen, there's a problem here. Let me see what I can do. I have this idea. Let me see how I could implement it. And when you start something, it may not always be successful the first go. But you start it and people start to see value in it. And I go back to what I was talking about earlier. I don't know if you were listening to the start of the show, but the Bank of Nevis.
Oh, certainly.
Right? Because,
Certainly.
but again, that's a prime example.
Yeah, you just
Right?
got to think outside the box.
20 years from now, people are going to say, boy, that thing Mackie was talking about, coconut boy, look what happened. And Mackie was great. But at the time when Mackie started, people say, boy, I mean, I'll support that or whatever. You know, that is the nature of things. I just feel that we need to do more. Stop complaining so much and actually start doing. You know, I think that will be very important. I mean, I walk every morning, Mackie, and as I walk, I shouldn't say every morning, most mornings. And when I walk, I don't pass any garbage or plastic or bottle and thing on the road. I pick them up and I dispose of them while I'm doing my morning walk. And I said to myself all the time, but if every division were to do this, first of all, we stop throwing things on the side of the road.
Exactly the point.
Right?
Yes.
But if we see something on the side of the road, because sometimes donkeys come, they pull long thing and thing. Just the thing. But people pass it every day.
Right.
And then you hear people now will call into the radio station and complain and say, oh, why not send somebody to go clean up the side of the road? Because we don't see it as our, you know, we don't see it that we have an opportunity to contribute. So I probably have gone on longer than necessary, but I want to wish your event every success, and I want to publicly thank you and applaud you for making this, taking this initiative and making coconut, you know, a central and focal point of what you're trying to do. Because I do think that it contributes significantly. In fact, before you go, I actually saw a story recently which said that during one of those wars, World War I or World War II, they actually used coconut water for IV.
Well, as a matter of fact, a lot of people who come to me come because the physician send them, tell them to drink a lot of jelly water.
Wow.
Yep.
Wow, that's interesting.
So yeah.
Yeah. So that solution, the coconut water, was actually used as an IV. But
well,
thanks.
It's his best solution for IV actually.
Yeah. But thanks, my brother. Thanks and good luck.
All right.
All right. Best wishes. All right. Good. We have 5 minutes left. Let me go and take this call now, and say good evening, caller. You're on the mark. Hello.
Hello.
Yes, you're on the air. Go ahead, please.
Hi. How are you, sir?
I'm well, thank you. I trust you're well also.
Yeah, this is Agnola.
Hey, how are you, Agnola?
I am good. I'm just calling to say thank you to the general public for their support of Agnola Productions for 2025. I have certainly enjoyed and appreciated the support that I have received, and I just wanted to say thank you. I also want to invite the general public to the cellist choir concert that we're having on Monday at the Malcolm Gishard Recreational Park. It's $50 adults and $25 children, and we want to invite the general public to come and enjoy a wonderful Christmas recital from the cellist choir.
When? Give me the time and date again.
The date is Monday, December 15th. Time is 7 p.m. Place, Malcolm Gishard Recreational Park. It's $50 adults and $25 for children.
Okay, well, thank you very much. And let me use this opportunity to thank you for your contribution. We talk a lot about the creative arts, but since you've returned home, you've been really immersing yourself in it and trying to bring the rest of us along. And so I'm very grateful for your contribution as well. I take this opportunity to wish you and Agnola Productions a wonderful Christmas season and a wonderful New Year. I'm pretty sure that we're going to hear more about you in the new year because you're not the type to sit still. So I'm looking forward to hearing more from Agnola Productions in 2026.
Yes, thank you very much, and thank you for your support and for, enjoy the rest of the year and a great and wonderful new year.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, God bless. We have just about 2 minutes left. Let's take this final call then. Caller, good evening. You're on the mark.
Miss Sheriff, good night.
How are you, my dear?
I'm doing okay.
I'm so happy you called because I said I did not want the year to end without hearing your voice on ear. So tell me, what you have for me?
Verse 3 and 4. Let the people praise thee, O God. Let all the people praise thee. O let the nation be glad and sing for joy. For thou shalt judge the people righteously and govern the nation upon the earth. Have a good evening.
Thank you very much. And let me thank you for being with this show, not just this year, but every year. You have always been the one to call in with a scripture. In fact, most nights, most weeks, you are our very first caller. And so I want to thank you as well. This show is what it is because of people like you. So thank you. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. And I hope to come and see you before the Christmas season. Okay?
Okay.
Okay.
Same to you.
God bless you. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, this is On the Mark. I'm your host, Mark Brantley. I had a number of points I wanted to make about the audit report and the fact that we had no audit report for almost 7 years in this country. A truly, truly reprehensible record. But we have restored that. And I know sometimes people take these things for granted. But doing the right thing in government, ensuring that governance is done according to the rules is critically important. Because without an audit report, we truly do not know what government expenditure is or what is being done with the money. And that is the problem. We had this hole. The finances in Nevis were a hole. You did not know what was going on. And there was no check. There was no balance. Because those who were in authority at the time refused to give us those checks and balances that the Constitution mandates. Put differently, they were operating unlawfully. And that is a sad thing for any government. Well, not under this government. The banner's struck up, we have to go. I want to use this opportunity then to send my warmest wishes to all the people of Nevis and St. Kitts, those at home, those abroad. Happy Christmas, Merry Christmas. May all your dreams come true. And as we approach the new year, let us, with humility, thank God for His abundant blessings. And go into the new year, I hope, with good health and as much success as you can. God bless you. This is Mark Brantley saying goodbye, Merry Christmas, and Happy New Year.
The views and opinions expressed on the following program are solely those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect the views of the Nevis Broadcasting Company Limited or its advertisers.